As if we don't have enough games already. Our backlogs are all insane, but that doesn't stop these relentless developers from making more. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the top 100 brand new games announced in 2025. Now it has to be said, this is going to be a long list. So sit back, buckle up, and let's get started at number 100 with Dreadmoor. There's no getting around it. This one looks heavily inspired by Dredge, but from the trailer, it could potentially have a lot more going on. This isn't just a fishing game. There's exploration, there's crafting, there's monster battles, and it's all in first person with some pretty decent 3D visuals that tie everything together. It's undeniably derivative, but it looks pretty polished from the trailer, and I'm liking the more immersive first person view and the more explicitly weird post-apocalyptic setting. At number 99, it's
Darwin's Paradox is this side-scroller. Reminds me of kind of like Inside, but mechanically a little more complex. You play a charming little octopus pulled out of the sea, and now you have to escape the suffocatingly gray and horribly dangerous human world. It looks like one of those cinematic platformers. It's pretty scripted with lots of set pieces and chase scenes. Playing as an octopus looks like it definitely does have some advantages. You can climb on everything, and I guess that makes a little more sense with the suction cups than on Echidna, I guess. But yeah, you can jump far, you can camouflage yourself to hide from humans, who, by the way, all want to turn you to calamari. It looks like a fun game. It looks different. But what's probably the most surprising aspect is coming to us from Konami.
And number 98 is Crave. This intriguing-looking VR game is essentially a spelunking simulator, which sounds pretty unique. It's absolutely terrifying. If you're claustrophobic, stay far away from this one, though. The climbing mechanics look pretty in-depth, and I do like how you can leave chalk notes on the walls. It's a clever use of VR and an intriguing game mechanic. What's impressive about this trailer is it manages to feel scary without even a hint of anything hunting you in the dark. I don't think this is even meant to be a horror game. It's a cave diving simulator. But hey, you've seen that picture of that guy upside down stuck in that hole in that cave. That's scary enough. At number 97 is Code Violet, an interesting one. If Capcom refuses to make a new Dino Crisis, this is the next best thing, right? It's a full-on third-person action horror game where you fight dinosaurs, which is kind of inherently goofy, but it looks the part. The developer Team Kill Media, that sounds familiar. Oh no, I'm feigning surprise here. They're the Quantum Error guys, which was a train wreck. I don't want to condemn them to the garbage bin for one bad game, but Quantum Error was bad. It was bad enough that I could feign some bad acting about it, and no one would be like, no, listen, Falcon's bad acting. No, it's a bad game, much worse than my acting. Hopefully they step it up for Code Violet. And number 96 is Ninja Gaiden 4. Now we're talking a new Ninja Gaiden game made in collaboration with Team Ninja and Platinum Games. This is a series long in need of a major revival, and while Platinum has been in kind of dire straits lately with staff departures left and right, Team Ninja has got the juice to make this a good game. From the trailer, looks more like a Platinum game than another Ninja Gaiden. Huge areas, relentless set pieces, looks fun as hell. The sci-fi city definitely stands out from the more mundane locations of the previous Ninja Gaiden games. New protagonists in long-running series are always a gamble, but we do get to play as Ryu too, so hopefully there's nothing to worry about here. This one looks like a blood-splattered good time. I just hope it's more Ninja Gaiden Black than Ninja Gaiden 3. And number 95 is Saros, or Saros? I'm not sure. House Marquee's follow-up to Returnal gives very little away in its announcement trailer, but it sounds like it's going to be a continuation in all but name. You're a guy on a mysterious planet shooting weird aliens, and there are roguelike elements. It's Returnal again, but with a more robust progression system to take some of the edge off the randomness. Considering the lack of major upgrades was a sticking point for some of the people with the original one, this all sounds good. I'm all for progression systems and roguelikes, and I've got high expectations when it drops sometime next year. And number 94 is Metal Eden, probably the closest thing we're going to get to a Titanfall 2 follow-up, and that's enough to get me excited, to be fair. The visuals look pretty astounding. The sci-fi trappings might be a little generic, but the presentation is on point. It looks like an FPS that is relentlessly paced, like Doom Eternal crossed with Ghost Runner, but with a style its own. There's already a demo out if you're interested in trying it out, and yeah, it's good, so I'm pretty damn excited for the final game when it comes out sometime late this year. And number 93 is Tides of Annihilation. It's one of those kitchen sink games that sounds too good to be true, but everything they're showing looks legit. I mean, this is a game that could actually be as awesome as it seems. There's no guarantee, and there's so much going on in this trailer. Makes my head spin. There's crazy combat, ghost summons, Shadow of the Colossus style, gigantic monsters, huge post-apocalyptic city that you're dropped into to explore, more than 30 unique boss fights. This is just checking off all of the things I want to hear boxes, and I'm here for it. And number 92 is Terminator 2D No Fate, going in a very different direction here. This officially licensed old-school Terminator side-scroller looks like something right out of the Sega Genesis era, but it's brand new. It's made by Bitmap Bureau, the guys behind Xenocrisis, and if you know that game, you know there's reason to be excited here. It's a 2D side-scroller with some really good pixel art, and it looks like it's going to hit basically every major event of the movie, including some stuff, to be frank, that isn't really highlighted in the movie a whole lot. Now, there's been some pretty forgettable 2D side-scrollers of popular movie properties lately, but this looks like a labor of love. And number 91 is Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy, a prequel to A Plague Tale. Not the direction I expected the series to go after the second game's ending teaser, but it's welcome nonetheless. Taking place 15 years before the last game, you play as Sophia, a character from Requiem, and a mysterious new character as well. The entry finally introduces actual melee combat to the series after 2 games of desperate sneaking. It'll be nice to just walk up and stab somebody, to be clear. I mean, not exactly any rats in the trailer, but I don't know what that exactly means. You certainly can't combat the rats if they do show up, but yeah, it's interesting to see them mix this up. And number 90 is Keeper, the newest game from Double Fine. Looks like another one of their indie game experiments, rather than something big like Psychonauts 2. But the announcement trailer from Keeper has charm and really a good hook. All it takes is 4 little words to sell me on this thing. You are the lighthouse. You are a walking lighthouse in a twisted, surreal world with only a bird as your companion. It's got quiet introspection, like an indie walking sim, and the gameplay cred and quirky humor of Double Fine, so that sounds like a pretty good combo to me. At number 89, it's Silent Hill F, Konami's newest Silent Hill game, Silent Hilf. It's Silent Hill F. It's a very different Silent Hill, and yet still pretty familiar. I mean, you got your staples. You gotta watch your ammo, solve the puzzles, endure the psychological dread. There's a little more melee emphasis here, though, with some pipes and spears that you apparently construct or something. But of course, it's Silent Hill, so you are in a very foggy city being attacked by, well, I hesitate to call them undead, but they're something. This is a little bit more colorful version of Silent Hill, where they're attempting to find the beauty in terror, apparently. That's the theme of the game. Honestly, I think they're going to succeed. It looks really, really cool to me. And number 88, it's Dark Mass. Another PlayStation announcement of dubious quality. Dark Mass is an upcoming horror game with a great premise and some appropriately spooky visuals, but it's hard not to be a little skeptical when you see trailers like this, unless they have like a noteworthy pedigree to really knock it out of the park like this. I'm assuming it's probably shovelware. Maybe, again, that's a little harsh. There is some atmosphere here. It's not like there isn't. They're combining 2 creepy places at once, an old manor, and it's deep underwater. I mean, that's a hook, I'll give you that. Except it's kind of hard to tell whether you're actually swimming at certain points or not. Like this undead zombie thing is not moving like it's underwater. Maybe that's intentional, who knows, but we'll see. And number 87, it's PowerWash Simulator 2. More PowerWash Simulator. At least that's what I see in the trailer. Looks like the original game with some better visuals, better water, and a 2. Sometimes more is all anybody wants, and I've got nothing against more power washing. There may be more to this when it comes out later in the year, but the announcement trailer is pretty vague about what we can expect. My prediction, more power washing. And number 86 is Painkiller. The name makes it sound like a remake, but it appears to be a complete reimagining of the original Painkiller. Something similar to the Shadow Warrior reboot. It's got the name, but it's otherwise more or less totally new. I mean, not totally new. Some iconic weapons are returning, and it's got that gothic FPS style down, but there's a new emphasis on co-op play with 3 players joining together and battling the hordes of hell. It's not pure co-op shooting. It appears as though you can play offline, but whether the game is balanced around co-op or not, don't know. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know what to make of this. It looks pretty sharp, but if the primary goal is to make a co-op shooter, I don't know why they decided that Painkiller was the series to take in a bold new direction. I mean, it's not like anybody was doing anything with the franchise anyway, but I do hope it's going to be good when it comes out in the fall this year. At number 85 is Raidou Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army. This is a remake of one of the lesser-known Atlas RPGs from the PS2 era, getting a new lease on life. I honestly never thought I'd see it. It's one of the most strange, but also one of the most interesting Shin Megami Tensei adjacent games. With all the demon capturing you could want, but it's set in a strange semi-historical Japan where Rasputin is around for some reason. It's an underrated gem from back in the PS2 era, and I do hope it gets it's the acclaim it deserves when it comes out later this year. At number 84, it's Starseeker, Astroneer Expeditions. This is a new spin-off of Astroneer with more of a focus on co-op play and exploration rather than resource gathering and survival. One big new feature here is the space station, which is sort of a gathering hub for the game where teams get together and plan their expeditions and hang out. Multiplayer is the big draw of the game in comparison to Astroneer, and it does look like a fun time. At number 83, it's Duskfade, a new game revealed by PlayStation back in April. Looks like a real love letter to the platform action games from the PS2 and PS3 era with an impressive new coat of paint. The trailer for this game, it's relatively short, but there's a lot packed in here with some stunning vistas and some widely detailed environments to jump around on and get into fights with enemies, and what looks like a very throwback kind of combat system. Some of the animations look a little stiff, but man, it's got a lot of potential. At number 82, it's Voidbreaker. A lot of roguelike FPS games out there, but this one looks pretty interesting with its abstract environmental design, intense speed, and powerful weapons. The premise is pretty much what you'd expect. Something hostile AI, blah, blah, blah. But the game design looks solid, and I can't say no to some good environmental destruction. This one's coming pretty soon, launching in late August. I'm excited to play the full thing. There is a demo on Steam. It does show a lot of promise. Check it out. And number 81, it's SpeedRunners 2 King of Speed. What an original subtitle for SpeedRunners 2. The original SpeedRunners. A lot of fun, but the sequel does look better. They're not reinventing the wheel, as far as I can tell, but they are refining what worked in the first game, which was precision platforming and entertaining out-of-nowhere chaos. SpeedRunners 1 was, it was a great game to play with friends, but the graphics were always pretty basic. So having a sequel that's a little more visual appealing, that's exactly what they needed to do. And number 80 is Enter the Gungeon 2. One of the better roguelikes of the past decade is getting a full sequel in glorious 3D. The trailer, more of a teaser than anything else, looks more like a real successor to the original than like just a repeat, which is that's good. There's hopefully a little more meta progression and a quicker, earlier game, but Enter the Gungeon is fun as hell. And number 79 is Super Robot Wars Y. This insane mecha crossover series with an extremely sporadic release history in the West is actually getting a proper localization with Super Robot Wars Y. The wacky crossover shenanigans continue with the series' trademark over-the-top animations, totally insane plot. It features characters from series like G Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, and others that are going to please the 2000s era anime fan in all of us. These games aren't for everyone. The graphics are pretty bare bones. But for turn-based tactics maniacs and mecha heads, there's a lot to dig into here. And number 78 is Star Wars Zero Company. Long teased but finally announced back in May. EA's long gestating Star Wars XCOM is coming, and it looks pretty damn cool. The trailer shows a real random assortment of Star Wars archetypes. There's a clone trooper, a bounty hunter, a Mandalorian, all working together. The characters suggest this is a game set during the Clone Wars era, but who knows? All we know for sure is that it's XCOM, but Star Wars. And that's enough for me. And number 77, there are no ghosts at the Grand. One of the more interesting trends of 2025 are games that combine the workplace sim with more of a traditional gameplay experience. In this game's case, it's part hotel management, part ghost hunting. It looks unique and surprisingly polished, at least if the trailer's any indication, and it's coming sometime next year. And number 76 is Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun 2. More Boltgun. That's all anyone really wants. Just more Boltgun. The first game was fun as hell, and hopefully the sequel's better. more varied environments, more enemies, more big guns to shoot those enemies with. The first game was the perfect marriage of old school visuals and modern Doom Eternal inspired aggressive gameplay. Just do more of that stuff in Boltgun 2 and we're going to be happy. And number 75 is Anima Gate of Memories 1 and 2 Remaster. It's not exactly new, but the Anima games are some of the more ambitious and intriguing indies from their time, so seeing them get upgraded and improved in 2025 is actually kind of exciting. The originals were definitely rough around the edges, but there was ambition and some good ideas behind them. These are games that are perfect for a remaster. They had a ton of potential, but didn't quite realize it originally. Hopefully the new release makes them the games that they were capable of being. And number 74, it's Romeo is a Dead Man, announced during the Summer Games Fest PlayStation Showcase. This thing has the telltale signs of a Suda51 and Grasshopper manufacturing game all over it, even before we actually got any gameplay. Honestly, this looks even more insane than the usual Suda offerings. It makes No More Heroes look downright realistic and down to earth. The gameplay looks like a mad mix of third-person shooting and close-range combat with some of that expected Grasshopper jank in there. Hopefully the good outweighs the rough spots, though, because I'm always here for a new game from these guys. May not all be winners, but they're always interesting. And number 73, it's Lumines Arise, one of the most unexpected returns of 2025, a new Lumines game. Originally released for the PlayStation Portable, this series is getting a new lease on life on PS5 and PSVR, looking like a real return to form for the highly regarded puzzle franchise, too. The visuals were always a major part of the appeal of Lumines, and the game looks like they've got the vibes down 100%. And number 72, it's Grounded 2, Obsidian's follow-up to their excellent survival game. Looks like it's doing everything you could possibly want for a sequel. It's bigger, it looks better, you can ride bugs around, what more could you want? Seriously, the original Grounded was one of the best of the genre, and the game looks like it's even more ambitious this time around. Got tons of new bugs and more varied environments to explore. Sounds like it's going to go into early access like the first game, and apparently that's coming pretty soon. July 29th, 2025, specifically. Only a little more than a month away. And number 71, it's Digimon Storytime Stranger. The latest in the surprisingly decent Digimon Stories games is coming sometime this year. Looks basically like a Persona knockoff, but the format at least suits Digimon, and it looks like there's going to be a whole bunch of creatures to collect, all wrapped around in a new time-traveling twist. If it's anything like the previous Digimon Stories games, it should be fun. Kind of a more easygoing version of Persona. And number 70 is Bloodstained, the Scarlet engagement. Felt like forever, but we're finally getting a follow-up to Bloodstained, and this time it's got a little more of that dark fantasy Souls formula going for it. The opening cutscene from the trailer made it look like a completely different game, but when we actually got some gameplay, it was obvious this was the next Bloodstained. I'd know those 2D, 3D graphics anywhere. This time the game has dual protagonists, gives it a little bit more of a Portrait of Ruin flavor. As long as they keep all the weirdness of the original game, though, and I expect they will, then it should be a Metroidvania to look forward to. And number 69, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. It's the classic Mortal Kombat games, but instead of just being another slap-together fighting game collection, it looks like it's getting a bunch of love and attention. Digital Eclipse, the guys behind some of the best remaster collections of the past few years, are in charge of it. These are the guys that did Llama Soft, the Jeff Minter story, and Tetris Forever. Games that didn't just collect a bunch of old games together, but are functionally interactive documentaries, more or less, full of behind-the-scenes information and history that's seamlessly woven into the fabric of the games. For any Mortal Kombat fan who's interested in the history of game development, this is all very exciting. At number 68, it's 007 First Light. We knew IO Interactive had been working on a 007 game for years, but it wasn't formally announced until the PlayStation State of Play at the Summer Games Fest, and it shouldn't be a surprise that the game looks really exciting with all the cinematic bombast you would expect from a James Bond game. What makes First Light especially interesting is the Hitman connections, though. The trailer doesn't exactly show it, but there's got to be some of that social stealth Hitman DNA in there, right? The potential for troublemaking is even higher when you've got James Bond in the mix. It's a game that we still don't know a lot about yet, but it looks great and hopefully is able to have enough action to appease James Bond fans and enough brains to bring in the Hitman junkies. At number 67, it's Sea of Remnants. When I first saw this thing, I thought maybe it was some kind of Sea of Thieves spinoff, but I mean, it's not exactly. I wasn't all that off, but okay. So it's a free-to-play ship and pirate-themed RPG, and it takes the unusual choice of making everybody a puppet for some reason. Visually, it's in a class of its own. It's different. Scope of the world, sight to behold, even if the free-to-play part is a little eyebrow-raising. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but we'll see. Whatever this ends up being, it looks unique, and we'll watch out for it in 2026. And number 66 is Nioh 3. Team Ninja returns to the series that brought them back as one of the premier action game developers out there with Nioh 3. After years of essentially making the same kind of game, it looks like Nioh 3 is going to be a step forward for the series, moving away from the stage-based level design and going all in on a massive open world that you can explore freely. So Nioh's going Elden Ring, and I'm excited to see it. The loot system's still the same, so expect tons of weapons and armor to sort through. But the introduction of a new ninja-style combat system that you can switch to on the fly, that looks great. There's a demo out, and no surprise, it's very good. So I'm expecting some pretty good things from Nioh 3. And number 65, it's Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. Marvel vs. Capcom's dead, but Arc System Works has come in to pick up the slack with a new Marvel-only fighting game, coming from the guys who make Guilty Gear and Dragon Ball FighterZ. Seriously, what's the right way to say that game's name? It's a great game, whatever you're supposed to call it. The game that they're making here actually looks incredible. These guys really know how to make a good fighting game. You got teams of 4 fighters per match, and I expect each fighter to be pretty accessible individually, but the game should prove to have a lot of depth anyway. It's about the last thing I expected to see, but in hindsight makes perfect sense. It's a fighting game, definitely to watch out for. And number 64 is Mortal Shell 2. The original Mortal Shell is one of those games where it felt like they needed to make a sequel because it almost hits it out of the park. I mean, Mortal Shell is a great game. I really thoroughly enjoy it. But it looks like this is where it's really going to hit its stride. The debut trailer really makes this thing looks super weird. Demented. It looks like the core concept of shells is still in play, so you still swap between different forms, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, only now you're taking on some truly grotesque monstrosities. Everything about Mortal Shell 2 looks like a step up from the first game, and for that reason, I'm quite excited to play it in 2026. And number 63 is Marvel Cosmic Invasion. After years of flailing with Marvel games, they're finally giving us something to be excited about. Developed by Tribute Games, the guys behind the amazing Shredder's Revenge, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat-em-up reboot. This looks every bit as good as a beat-em-up as that game, only now you got a bunch of superheroes to play with. For comic book fans, the game looks like it's got a real killer's row of playable characters, but even someone who doesn't care about all that geek stuff should probably find something to like here. The devs behind this know how to make a good beat-em-up, let's say. And number 62 is Lego Voyagers. This looks like Lego's answer to It Takes Two, which is all I really need to hear. But this game's actually more creative than I thought. Instead of just playing as little Lego dudes, like in most games, you're just a brick, and you have to attach yourself to various parts and things to traverse the world and solve puzzles. Looks like a ton of fun, and thankfully, they're doing the thing where only one player needs to actually buy the game in order to play together. Moving on to number 61, it's Infinitesimals. It might look like some kind of bizarro take on Grounded, but it's actually a cinematic action game. There's no survival crafting here whatsoever. Sure, you play as a tiny little dude exploring a vast miniature world, but the game is more about jetpacking around and blasting enemies than anything else. It also looks impressive, and while it's unfortunate it got revealed so close to Grounded 2, it looks different enough to distinguish itself. And number 60 is End of the Abyss. This game looks like some kind of unsettling mix of a Souls game and Little Nightmares. It's got that strange, uncanny atmosphere, but there's actual combat. It looks like it requires some precision and careful movement to survive, too. The ability to defend yourself makes it seem like this game's going to be more tense than your average game of this type. The enemies shown in the trailer look a little unpredictable and strange. I don't really know what's happening, but I'm super intrigued by it. At number 59 is Code Vein 2, a sequel I never expected to see. Code Vein has some real good combat, and I know everybody always mentions this, but it's only because it's true. The character creator was absolutely top-notch, but the level design, pretty rough. Who's to say if the sequel will have more satisfying exploration, but the addition of a motorcycle is definitely a good sign. Combat looks even more bombastic than ever, with plenty of gnarly monsters to slay. This one has real potential to surpass the first game when it comes out in 2026. And number 58 is Out of Worlds. Video games are experiencing their stop-motion moment with games like South of Midnight, Harold Halibut, The Midnight Walk, and now Out of Worlds, which is especially impressive because there's no cheating going on in this game. Everything's literally made of stop-motion animation. There's no 3D models that are animated like they're stop-motion. This is stop-motion, and it looks fantastic. It's a co-op adventure that, again, looks very It Takes Two inspired, but the handcrafted animation and the gameplay we see in the trailer looks fast and fun. I mean, it looks like among the best co-op puzzle games type stuff. And number 57 is Forever. What if you took Breath of the Wild and added 4-player co-op? The answer would look something like Forever. Actually, watching the trailer makes it look like there's a lot going on. You're platforming, fighting bosses, mining resources, collecting colored loot. It's all very busy, but it looks very polishing and intriguing already. An early access to the game isn't far off either. They're planning to launch the beta sometime this year. And number 56 is Persona 4 Revival. After the success of the Persona 3 remake, it was only inevitable they'd get around to Persona 4. And 3 is popular enough, but 4 is the one that got people really hardcore into the Persona games. It's got an all-time great cast of characters, challenging and intense battles, and a twisting mystery plot. In fact, probably the best of the plots. The Persona 3 remake was great outside of missing some elements of the later releases, and I expect Persona 4 Revival probably release at a similar level of quality. And number 55 is Medang Two Hearts. The world needs a new stealth action game with a bonkers plot that combines real-world history with whacked-out supervillains. And with no new Metal Gear Solid games on the way, we've only got games like Medang Two Hearts to work with. Not that I am complaining, because this trailer looks incredible. They throw so much madness at you so quickly that it's hard to keep up. And it's not just about sneaking around as a soldier and as a K-pop star. There's also zombies and apparently guys with superpowers that can leap 100 feet into the air. Who knew? It's all taking place in a Tom Clancy-like plot about the reunification of North and South Korea. It looks fantastic, to say the least, and I cannot wait to find out more. And number 54 is Annihilation. You can always count on Don't Nod to make something unexpected and interesting while doing their adventure game projects, and this game looks like another interesting diversion for the studio. Annihilation is a cinematic platformer set during a space disaster, and we don't know much about what they're actually doing outside of all the climbing and jumping. It looks like a thrilling Tomb Raider set piece stretched out over an entire game. Maybe that's not what it is at all. I don't know, but that's the vibe I'm getting from the trailer. Either way, these guys always do good work, so I'm looking forward to this one in 2026. And number 53 is High on Life 2. Squanch Games returns with the follow-up to the surprisingly solid FPS. This game looks like it immediately follows up on the secret ending to the first game with bigger environments, new guns, including dual handguns that I would bet are voiced by Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally. Don't tell me you don't see it. And just to speed things up, it looks like you can jump on a skateboard and do sick tricks while blowing away alien scum. The humor of the first game isn't to everybody's taste, but personally I enjoyed it, and I'm excited about the follow-up, which looks even more nuts than the first. At number 52, it's Super Meat Boy 3D, another left field reveal from the Xbox showcase. Super Meat Boy is back, and he's in 3D this time. The crazy difficult precision platformer looks just as merciless as ever, only now you got three dimensions to worry about. Not every 2D platformer has benefited from the shift to 3D, but the trailer seems like Super Meat Boy is gonna handle it pretty well. The game looks like a true continuation of the original, just as long as the controls feel right. Sonic Games struggled with transitioning to 3D for years. Hopefully Super Meat Boy gets it right the first time. Next at number 51, it's Roadside Research. It's a game where you play as aliens who run a gas station. That's the premise. It's insane, but it actually sounds like a lot of fun. Between stocking shelves, upgrading your utilities, and checking out customers, you also have to secretly study humans. Just don't let them notice you're acting strangely, or they might sniff out the fact that you are an alien with a piece of paper on their face. It looks like a weird game, but that there's probably some fun to be had, especially when you're playing with friends. In a sea of forgettable simulator games, this one's got our attention. At number 50, it's Ground Zero, a PS1-style survival horror with a ton of retro charm. Think classic Resident Evil, except for it takes place in Busan, South Korea. You see, a meteor hit, and there are mutated horrors to be shot. Probably the thing I wanted to know the most is if it was tank controls or not. Apparently, if you want it, it is an option, but it's not required. So I will say, honestly, I'm quite happy that it's not the thing that you're stuck with here. I love me some old Resident Evil, but it is hard to go back to those tank controls. We don't have a release date yet for Ground Zero, but it is something you can wishlist on Steam for PC. At number 49, it's Blind Descent. Hey, seems like we've been getting some games lately where you can describe them as Subnautica but, and this is one of those games. Subnautica, but in an underground jungle on Mars. Honestly, super interesting. You're a stranded miner on Mars. You're going through all of these massive caverns that are full of flora and fauna for up to 4 players heading downward on a planet that looks quite barren on the surface. This one's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. It's going to be next year. We don't have a final release date. And number 48, another game people who are interested in Ground Zero might be interested in is Tormented Souls 2. It's a sequel, so we already kind of know how Tormented Souls is. It's obviously a little more graphically advanced than Ground Zero, but it's a game where you can play with tank controls and you can also play with a more modern control, and you switch between it by just doing the D-pad or the analog stick on a controller. In all seriousness, I think Tormented Souls handles it best, and it was why I wanted to even know with Ground Zero. Tormented Souls 2, just for clarity, does it exactly the same. They have a demo up. You can play it right now. I downloaded it specifically to find out if they kept the way that they did it in the first game in this one, and they do. If it's anything like the first one, it's going to be puzzle heavy. It's going to have some tense combat, limited saves, that type of thing. Really, the kind of old school Resident Evil is seeing a pretty big resurgence. This game is still apparently coming out this year. I would believe it because they did drop that demo. Like I said, it's about an hour-long demo if you want to play it. It's out on PC. I don't think there's a demo on PS5 and Xbox Series, but the game is coming to those platforms as well later in the year. Moving on to number 47, it's Wu-Tang Rise of the Deceiver. It's been 26 years since the last Wu-Tang Clan game. This one's a co-op action RPG for up to 3 players. And when I say action RPG, I do not mean Souls-like. This is a fast-paced, I don't know if I want to say like Devil May Cry type. I don't even know if it's really that. It's just fast. Obviously, music is not an afterthought here. We've got some pretty serious curation going by Just Blaze, some classic Wu-Tang tracks, and some beats that shift dynamically during combat. It looks awesome. It's one I really want to play because the look of it is so distinct that if the game is actually good and also a good Wu-Tang tie-in, I don't know how can't you possibly like something like this. I love Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, they ain't nothing to f*** with. At number 46, it's Scott Pilgrim EX. Hey, did you like Shredder's Revenge? I did. Well, did you know that before that, several of the developers that made that game made Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, which is one of the best beat-em-ups ever. I love it. And those folks are returning to Scott Pilgrim with Scott Pilgrim EX. They've got Anna Managuchi, the musicians that made the original Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game soundtrack. And they're tossing in some River City Ransom influence by making a semi-open world. Nothing I could tell you could emphasize to the degree which I am excited to play Scott Pilgrim EX. We don't have an exact date, but it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC next year. And number 45 is Felt That Boxing. So it's Punch-Out meets puppets. That's all you really have to say. It's a game that looks like Punch-Out, and it's puppets. And it looks great. I mean, it looks like a ton of fun. Looks very silly. It's one of those things where it's like, why haven't they done another Punch-Out type game? And I think part of it is because Punch-Out is such an unrealistic thing that the pixel art kind of makes it work. And nobody's really thought of like, well, how do you replicate that now that graphics are way better than that? And I think puppets, oh my God, just a perfect choice. You sort of diffuse that realism problem completely by using puppets. I'm super excited about this. Can't wait to play it. It's currently only announced for PC, but it seems like something that is very unlikely not to be on everything. Obviously, my fingers are crossed. I'm excited. Don't know if we're going to see it this year, but I mean, it's one I'm looking at with great interest. At number 44, it's Atomic Heart 2, and they have taken the Bolshevik Bioshock global. It's not just a Soviet sci-fi sequel, now it's going to be a full-blown, globe-trotting, open-world RPG shooter hybrid that takes the aesthetic of the first game and just expands on it massively. So it's kind of looking to me like if Bioshock and Far Cry were combined, but also with wall running. It has no firm release date, expected next year for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Moving on to 43, it's The Cube. You can't mention the Atomic Heart sequel without mentioning The Cube. Mundfish, I don't know exactly what they're doing here. It is making an MMO-style multiplayer something that takes place in Atomic Heart's world. I don't know really exactly what it is, to be clear. I don't want to say it's MMO Atomic Heart on a Rubik's Cube open world, but I also kind of do want to say that because until we really know what it is, that's what it looks like. So maybe kind of if Atomic Heart 2 is Destiny, possibly. I don't know. Mundfish is on the move, though, that's for sure. This is going to be coming possibly next year, also on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. At number 42, it's The Expanse, Osiris Reborn, a more Mass Effect-looking take on The Expanse after Telltale tried some. This one has you pit against the Osiris Corporation, as the title implies. I don't know, it looks really good, but also sometimes when you don't see any gameplay in the trailer, it's tough to really get too excited. Still, it's Owlcat. They were behind the Pathfinder and Warhammer RPGs, and it does look a lot like Mass Effect. I don't know, I'm interested. We don't have any release window whatsoever for it, but it is set to launch on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. At number 41, it's Chronicles Medieval. Raw Power Games dropped this game at the Summer Game Fest, narrated by none other than Tom Hardy and scored by the Witcher composer. So, man, they're not messing around. A look at the Steam page reveals large-scale battles, RPG-style progression, diplomacy, character creation, kind of Mountain Blade meets Crusader Kings looking stuff. This one is a PC exclusive and it's planned for next year. I would say keep eyes on this one if you're into medieval stuff. At number 40, it's Echoes of the End, an Icelandic sword and sorcery sledgehammer thing. Looks like we're dealing with like melee, heavy melee, like I said, sledgehammers and whatnot. And spell casting. We saw some freezing, some glowing sword stuff, some pretty cool stacked combos that reminded me of either God of War or maybe one of the recent Star Wars Jedi games. Kind of an old school looking game. Definitely got a lot of God of War flair going. This one's coming this summer to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, so we're not going to have to wait too long to find out if it's great. It looks very, very cool. I hope it's as cool as it looks. At number 39, it's Crisol, Theater of Idols. Welcome to España, a twistic, gothic-flavored version of Spain, where your own blood fuels your gun. Literally, your blood fuels the gun. That's not a thing. It's the thing. Every shot draws from your health. You could pour bullets at your foes like nobody's business, but it's your blood. It has a very BioShock look to it. Maybe a tinge of Resident Evil in there too. This one's supposedly coming this year to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Keep an eye out. It does look pretty damn cool. At number 38 is Sleep Awake, also from Blumhouse Games. This one's also from Eyes Out, though, which I don't know if you remember what Eyes Out is, but it's Corey Davis, the creative director of Spec Ops: The Line, and Robin Fink from Nine Inch Nails and Chinese Democracy fame. The plot here is you're somebody who's avoiding sleep because there is a terrifying condition going around where everybody who falls asleep just disappears. So that's not what you want. Relatable position on the hush. And I don't want to just disappear. That sounds bad. Anyway, Robin Fink does the music for the game, so it's industrial and awesome. Honestly, looks like a unique game, and I'm pretty excited for it. At number 37 is Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Announced at the Xbox Games Showcase June 8th. Black Ops 7 marks the first time in series history that two Black Ops titles are going to drop back-to-back. This one is like a psychological techno thriller. It's set in 2035. You return as David Mason, and the campaign is going to be hybrid, solo/co-op campaign. They're also going to revamp the standalone multiplayer, and they're doing a kind of Raul Mendez AI ghost. I don't know. I'm psyched. Honestly, I love Call of Duty campaigns. There was a time when I hated Call of Duty more than anything. It was just so played out. But now that they've kind of eased into a rhythm, it's kind of like, yeah, give me a Black Ops. Good time for a Black Ops, yeah. Black Ops 7 is dropping probably November this year on the PlayStation, the Xboxes, and PC. Activision and Nintendo are maintaining they're committed to getting the game onto the system, but there's no official announcement, so I would guess at some point, maybe not the same time it launches on the other ones, though. At number 36, it is Beast of Reincarnation. Basically, it's Game Freak does Souls-like for some reason. Yeah, the Pokemon guys, they kind of hit us with a surprise. It's this gritty, dark fantasy action RPG. It is a Souls-like. You play as the Blighted One, also known as Emma, which is, to me, the funniest thing. Oh yeah, I'm Emma, the Blighted One. What's the Blighted One's name? Oh, it's Emma. Emma the Blighted One, huh? Yeah. I wish that was the name of the game. Beast of Reincarnation sounds really cool, but like Emma the Blighted One in one of those Sonic the Hedgehog circles with her pointer finger doing the #1 sign and wagging it. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying any of this. Maybe it's for personality, the thing you're watching for. Yeah, I see you tangent complainers out there. Go read press releases if that's all you're interested in. This game is launching next year on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. And number 35, it's Guardians of the Wild Sky. Blue Isle Studios dropped this game in the Future Games show early June. It's a survival crafting sim with magical creatures that you ride around and, solve environmental puzzles. In some ways, it kind of sounds a little bit like Pokemon, but not quite. Because you're not exactly riding your Pokemon around. You kind of store them. I don't know. Looks a little more chaotic than Pokemon 2. I don't know if Pal World is a good analog, because, I don't know, it's got a lot of Minecraft-looking stuff. This one's announced for PC, but we don't have a date. And number 34 is Agatha Christie, Death on the Nile. Microids returns with an adaptation of Death on the Nile, which is a murder mystery from the 70s. Honestly, it's possibly one of the weirdest ideas in the world to be adapting these particular Agatha Christie novels. They're really good. And to be frank, the Orient Express, the previous one, pretty good game, too. Death on the Nile is hitting PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch in September. And number 33 is Over the Hill from the creators of Art of Rally, Fun Skeletor Labs. You have this laid-back off-road exploration sim that is asking you more for patience than speed, I think. At least that's, I don't know. You got vintage 1960s, 1980s rigs, trucks and stuff. But you got dynamic weather, day-night cycles, campsites, etc. It's kind of like SnowRunner minus stress. There's a lot of stress if you play SnowRunner. I mean, there's payoff for it, but this is more of a meditative game. It's announced for PC. We do not have a date or anything, but they also do expect that there will probably be console ports depending on demand. So it looks fun. And number 32 is Cast and Chill, a pixel art fishing game that's just very pretty. You got lakes, rivers, oceans, and you're fishing. It's a time waster, not gonna lie, or at least that's what it comes off as. It's gorgeous, though, and just a one-of-a-kind game, in all seriousness. There's a demo available, and I would highly recommend playing it. The demo has an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam for good reason. Honestly, in all seriousness, really something you want to try. It's different. It's not going to excite you. I'm not going to pretend that that's what this is about. But if it's something that it sounds like you could like, you probably will, because it's probably the best example of what it is. And there's also just not a lot that really does it like this. So, yeah. Depending on when this goes up, it might be out. June 16th is the day it does come out. Either way, I would recommend the demo. Cast Chill is for PC. And number 31 is Cloudheim. Now, a certain type of person is going to hear that and go, oh, Cloud is from Nibelheim. That's what that is. But I think it's actually that they're trying to do Tears of the Kingdom's Cloud stuff and kind of in a Valheim-y way, but also probably the thing that I just said as well. It's a co-op action RPG, smashing, crafting, floating islands, It's definitely got a Zelda look to it, but it's also got kind of a Final Fantasy X look to it as well. Cloudheim is coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series later in the year. At number 30, it's Engine Fall, or as I'm going to call it, Snowpiercer the game. You start as a Taily in eternal servitude. You battle AI and rival players, scheming your way to seize control of the engine room. It's Snowpiercer. Why there has not been Snowpiercer the game, I don't understand. But Engine Fall clearly sees an opportunity, and hell yes, absolutely. How is this not a game yet? When I was watching Snowpiercer, my thought was this feels like a video game and would probably be a good video game. Anyway, of course, everybody's super excited. There's a beta going on right now you can request access to on Steam if you want. I don't know to what extent they're doing that, but I mean, it's a really cool looking game. I want to play it badly, very badly. Moving on to number 29 is Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Lizard Cube, the developers of Streets of Rage 4, are bringing us Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Sega probably pretty psyched because Streets of Rage 4 was pretty damn good. This is just a beautifully hand-drawn, side-scrolling 2D action platformer in the vein of the original Shinobi games. Obviously, it's a little more involved than the old-school Shinobi, but that looks good. That's a good thing, to be clear. Still, there's some stuff that if you were an old-school Shinobi fan like I am, I was a Sega Genesis Shinobi maniac, actually. There's some stuff here that I'm pretty happy about. I don't know, it's a beautiful-looking game that looks like a hell of a lot of fun. It's coming to PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Switch, August 29th. I will absolutely be playing this one. At number 28 is Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, the latest Sonic racing game with a new twist on it. See, the way this one is going to work is each lap has some dimensional aspects to it. You hit a travel ring lap 2 and warp into a brand new cross world mid-race. It switches up biomes, layouts, etc., etc. It retains a lot of all of the stuff that makes Sonic Racing good, and I really just think that they've managed to make the Sonic Racing games into kind of their own thing. Obviously, it's a kart racer. It can't be Mario Kart, and it's kind of not trying. It's trying to do something different, and I like that. Gonna have 12 players online, local 4 players, lots of different modes. It's coming to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, the Switches, and PC September 25th. And number 27 is Dread Zone, a first-person survival shooter that throws us into a devastated 2030 quarantine zone after a viral outbreak. You're actually infected. You have to survive against mutated beasts, hostile soldiers, other survivors, and you have to deal with your own worsening infection. Basically a hardcore survival game with a disease. This game's launching in early access on Steam July 17th. At number 26 is Samurai Pizza Cats, a 2D action RPG developed by Blast Zero. I actually don't remember Samurai Pizza Cats. Apparently, it was a 1990s animated series. Went for 54 episodes. 52 of them actually came over in English translation. The game is giving me Legend of the Mystical Ninja SNES vibes. Not the later Gomon titles, but it obviously goes a step above with the animation and action, but it's really got that vibe to me. I hope that's the case, because it's been a while since I've seen a game particularly like that. I don't know. Could be real cool. Maybe nothing like what I'm hoping it is, but that doesn't mean it won't be good. It's an action RPG. Old school as hell. Don't have a release date. We'll let you know when we know more. And number 25 is Quite a Ride, a bicycle survival game. Basically, it's a survival horror where the fog in a misty rural countryside is kind of the problem. Basically, think Pacific Drive, but more radio chatter, some more unpredictable encounters, fog mechanics that shift your surroundings, that type of stuff. Basically, you're supposed to stay alert or you're swallowed up. There's a demo on Steam if you're interested. It is PC only at the moment. Don't know if that's going to be the final platform list, but everything looks like it might be by the end of the year. We'll see. It's a different looking game. And number 24 is Wildgate, a game from ex-Blizzard CEO Mike Morhaim's Dreamhaven. This is a crew-based extraction shooter where teams of 4 players scramble through procedurally generated wreckage, scavenge stuff, and I mean, it's got a very interesting vibe to it. I keep saying extraction is kind of a bad word, but also it's kind of, I don't know, a lot of these recent announcements of extraction shooter type games are not following that exact template. Like this to me looks a lot like Sea of Thieves in space, with a little bit heavier on PvP stuff. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Wildgate is allegedly coming later in this year on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. At number 23 is Odin Valhalla Rising, an open-world MMORPG, which is actually something that's already out in Asia, but it's officially launching sometime here in the West on PC and mobile in the next few months. Basically, you got a few classes: Warrior, Sorceress, Priest, Rogue. You got some legendary realms: Midgard, Alfheim, etc. And allegedly, there's crossplay between PC and phone. I don't know to what extent that is a weird thing, given it's an MMORPG and that can mean fairly simple mechanics. But hey, if you're into MMORPGs, check this one out. Like I said, sometime drops in the next few months. And number 22 is Styx, Blades of Greed. Cyanide Studios' mischievous goblin returns. Styx, now promoted from lowly pawn to boss, leads a thieving crew aboard a zeppelin in search of a mineral called quartz. You probably heard of it. It's a real mineral, although I don't know if it's the actual real mineral. We'll see. Anyway, you got heists, you got snark, you got 3 vertically expansive zones to infiltrate with Metroidvania-style progression. Styx Blades of Greed is coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series fall this year. At number 21, it's The Mound, Omen of Cthulhu, from Chile's Ace team, best known for Xenoclash, and publisher Nacon. Comes a 4-player co-op survival horror Lovecraft-inspired expedition. If you're familiar with The Mound, this game looks like it's supposed to be an adaptation of The Mound. I don't know if it's an exact adaptation, but you and a crew of explorers are on a galleon. You're hunting for treasure. You're venturing deep into a cursed jungle, and basically reality collapses there. Basically, you've got co-op exploration and resource planning, and then also kind of almost dungeon-y looking gameplay where you're sort of descending into the underground Lovecraftian horrors. It's kind of Left 4 Dead meets Call of Cthulhu. The Mound, Omen of Cthulhu, is coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, allegedly still this year. At number 20 is Amanda the Adventurer, the chilling conclusion of the viral horror trilogy. This one picks up after the library escape in part 2. Basically, it's an escape room style puzzle encounter game with a really heavy 90s CGI aesthetic. There's a huge community around it with lots of theories. There's a demo at PAX East. It's listed on Steam. Doesn't look like console stuff, at least as of right now, but it's coming in the fall. At number 19, it's Displacement, coming to us from Obelisk Studio, the co-developers behind Sons of the Forest, this time plopping you into a frozen, isolated polar research station right as the staff descend into brutal madness. You're a psychologist. You went to just to investigate, but yeah, there's a bunch of combat. There's 20 melee weapons. There's executions, and that's not what a psychologist normally does. Interestingly enough, they've got a temperature system in this game, which allows you to do stuff like freeze locks and shatter barriers and stuff like that. Apparently, the line between survivor and monster blurs over time, and that's kind of the gist of the gameplay. This is a PC exclusive without a firm release date yet. It does look super weird, though. At number 18 is Jurassic World Evolution 3. Frontier Development brings us a Dino Park sim. Honestly, this is a game that I've thought about for quite a while. Not necessarily because it was announced or because we knew it was coming, but with all of the theme park sims and how far that has come in the last decade or so, why haven't we had this? Not only is it that, but it's also got Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm in it, which is going to be fun. I don't know. I'm just super excited that this is a thing that's happening. It's a great idea. It's something that should have happened a long time ago. It's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series October 21st. At number 17, it's Everwind, which was formerly known as Skyverse. It's a procedurally generated open-world survival RPG that mashes up Skyrim with Minecraft. You and up to 3 pals can build a floating island ship, which means you move around, you do a bunch of weird stuff, trash mobs, poke at dungeons, and the world's fully destructible. So you can carve your own story across a bunch of different sky islands. This was actually a game that in April of 2025, they launched a Kickstarter, and well, we know how that can go. I hope that it doesn't, but they're aiming for Steam Early Access early next year. And number 16 is Welcome to Brightville, a spellbinding immersive sim in which you play as an automaton guardian, doing some BioShock and Dishonored espionage-style stuff in a mana-punk metropolis. I'm not particularly familiar with what mana-punk is. I'm guessing that by, what we're looking at, it's kind of an industrial age, neon, steampunky-ish fantasy. Neon not normally involved in steampunk, so maybe somewhere between steam and cyberpunk. I don't know. Apparently you've got magic, because you got fire and ice spells. It's a different looking game, but also it's a very familiar looking game. It's a little confusing as to exactly what they're going for, but I am excited for a completely new developer IP immersive sim. It's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series in 2027, though. And number 15, and honestly, this is higher than 15 if this were like Falcon's personal most anticipated, but Donkey Kong Bonanza. We haven't had a fully 3D Donkey Kong platform. And also, to be serious, there is some 2D Donkey Kong Country style stuff in this game. It's all underground, though. It's all digging, all going further and further down for golden banana nonsense. Just a crazy, fully destructible environment. Platforming heaven is what this looks like to me. I'm so excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's coming to Nintendo Switch 2, July 17th. And number 14, it's Silver Palace, a gothic detective anime RPG. Singaporean developer Elementa Studios bring us a detective unraveling a conspiracy around a mystical energy source that corporations and cults are all trying to control. You got combat, you got Genshin-style party switching, you got Skyhook-style traversal a la BioShock Infinite, horseback riding, detective work where you investigate crime scenes. Honestly, a lot of stuff is being covered here. You could say there's Dishonored, there's Genshin, there's Ace Attorney. I don't know. There's really a lot going on. It's coming to PC and mobile. We do not know the date yet, though, but the trailers are saying next year. At number 13, it's Transport Fever 3. Urban Games just announced this one. Basically a transport empire builder. If you're familiar with the previous ones, this one brings some new stuff. Dynamic day and night, for instance, 4 distinct biomes, more than 250 authentic vehicles, helicopters, cargo trams. And what's really interesting is this time it's a fully simulated reactive world. You're going to have towns that grow or die based on transport networks you build, and that's kind of all done via a connected network. It's a sandbox game that really looks interesting because, honestly, you don't usually just get the transportation elements of this, and it looks really cool. It's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series next year. At number 12, it's Hello Sunshine from Red Thread Games, developers of Dreamfall and Dustborn. This is a third-person survival RPG. The world is a corporate ruin scorched by the sun. You're seeking a mysterious white tower, and you're accompanied by a giant war robot. It's kind of like The Long Dark, except for if it was Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's the only thing that seems to make sense when I'm looking at it, to me, anyways. I don't know. It's also not just a solo game. It can be played solo, but it can also be played 2-player co-op. Kind of sounds like an interesting experience, a different experience, but it also looks like it's a long way off. So far, they've only announced it for PC, and they have not given a release date window. And number 11 is I Am Ripper from White Paper Games, the makers of Either One or Dahlia View, if you're familiar with either. They're dropping us down in a 1980s Great Britain for a horror thriller. You're a forensic investigator. There's a brutal serial killer case. It writes itself. This is interesting. There's apparently autopsies in this game, which is really going the distance as far as forensic investigation. This one is not coming out this year. It is coming to PC next year. Look out for it. And number 10 is Marvel's Deadpool VR. Neil Patrick Harris is here as Deadpool, and he's doing his best Ryan Reynolds. The game actually kind of has a bit of a high on life vibe to it. I don't know if that's just me, but I think it definitely could be something that works out pretty well if they don't overdo it. I mean, it's very possible. A comedy game is a tough tightrope to walk. Neil Patrick Harris is a funny guy, though. Apparently, there's sword stuff in it too, which doesn't make me mad. I like VR stuff with swords. Deadpool VR is coming to Quest 3 2027, so it's a ways off. Moving on to number 9, Splatoon Raiders, the first Splatoon spin-off game, looks to be a survival Splatoon game. I don't know what to call it. It's a shooter, obviously, but a one-player Splatoon game. I realize that it exists, kind of, but it's definitely not the same thing as the campaign in the game, which is more or less an extended tutorial for how to play Splatoon. There's no 4v4 chaos here, though. That being said, there is some kind of cross-something going on. There's some updates on Splatoon 3 on Switch 2 that hint at some kind of a shared ecosystem. We don't really have a lot of information here. Obviously, Splatoon is awesome. I have fun with it, but we don't really know if this is coming out later this year or next year. Probably one, though. At number 8 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Empire City, a new VR Ninja Turtles game. The first Ninja Turtles VR game ever. Basically, it's first-person Ninja Turtles in VR with katanas, sais, bow staff, nunchuck, all that stuff. And that's basically all we know. I don't really know a whole lot about it. I do know that that's potentially great. So my fingers are crossed. This one isn't exclusive to the Quest, thankfully. Steam VR is also a platform they're putting this one on, so look out for it when it comes out in 2026. At number 7, it's the Duskbloods, a gothic PvPvE from Software, directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, landing as an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's literally everything you need to know. That's just intriguing on its own. We've seen a lot of people comparing it to Bloodborne meets Sekiro with multiplayer. That's what a lot of the information that has come out has indicated. There's co-op, there is PvP nonsense. Honestly, I just really like what it looks like, too. It's got a very different look than I would expect from a From game. And, I don't know, it's a vampire-themed frat war. That's what it is. The Duskbloods is coming next year. At number 6 is Davy X Jones, a new game from Parasite, the team behind Blacktail. Honestly, this is one of the most over-the-top first-person pirate action adventures I can imagine. You play as the legendary Davy Jones without his head. That's right, his disembodied skull constantly cracks wise while your muscular headless body hacks through demon pirates and monstrous sea creatures all the way down to the locker. That's speculation on my part. I don't really know what the locker, Davy Jones' locker is the thing I'm referring to. You got chainsaws, flintlocks, grappling hooks. You can even throw that talking skull as a weapon. We don't have a firm date for this, but it's coming to PC sometime, probably, I have to imagine, next year. At number 5, it's Invincible Versus. I don't think anybody had Invincible fighting game by some of the people that made Killer Instinct on their bingo cards for 2025, but I'll take it. I know there's been a little bit of criticism as to if this is a good idea or not, but let's be serious. Killer Instinct is an unappreciated masterpiece. That is a series that just should have gotten its due to a much larger extent, and maybe that's why I feel like this is a good idea. It's not necessarily that I was aching for an Invincible fighting game. I wasn't. But if that's the excuse that got the Killer Instinct people out making games, that's an excuse I want. I'm good. Invincible Versus is coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series next year. And number 4 is Europa Universalis 5, a 500-year sandbox grand strategy game that goes from 1337 Leet to 1837. Basically, you're doing 4X crap between medieval times and the Industrial Revolution. Honestly, yes. They've shifted away from sort of the abstract mana systems. They kind of learned their lesson, I think, from Imperator Rome and the mixed reception that got. I don't know. We're seeing kind of this type of a game come back. It seems like the developers and publishers are taking this genre a little more seriously. I'm really happy to see that. EU5 is coming to PC sometime. We don't have a date. And number 3 is The Blood of the Dawnwalker, which comes to us from Rebel Wolves, founded by ex-Witcher 3 director Conrad, long name Tomaskowitz. I'm just going to say that's probably close to the correct pronunciation. This one's a dark fantasy action RPG that embraces the vampire mythos. Basically, swords and vampire powers. You got day-night stuff going, which, of course, why wouldn't you with a vampire game? But in all seriousness, it's a cool-looking game. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game, got great graphics. Witcher 3 meets Dracula. What else do I need to say to get you on board? Blood of the Dawnwalker's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series next year. At number 2, Game of Thrones War for Westeros. PlaySide and Warner Brothers dropped this one at Summer Game Fest. Rather than putting you in one character's shoes, you are going to be an entire army in this game. I did tell you that real-time strategy was making a bit of a comeback. This is, in my opinion, evidence of that. They're calling this a classic and premium RTS experience, and I've seen a lot of chatter about it being like Age of Empires Westeros. If that plays out, great. I want that. This one's coming to PC sometime next year. And finally, at number 1, it's Resident Evil Requiem. Raccoon City has a big crater in it. We're going back. That's what we're dealing with here. They nuked Raccoon City, and for whatever reason, it seems like that didn't actually stop everything from happening, because, hey, we're there. I'm just psyched it's a third-person game. It looks like it's continuing in the footsteps of the Resident Evil remakes, and I am all about that. We do have a release date for it. It's coming out to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series February 27th, 2026. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.